Wow,
Okay.
people are in. No, no.
Right, we're live. Hi guys. Welcome to our regular Tuesday Tat Chat. This is Tat Chat number. I did just write it in the title and I've just forgotten. 80 something, 89.
I'm just looking for it actually.
I can't remember what number it is. I've only just written the title. So yeah,
Yep, it is
welcome.
89. Yeah.
89. Wow, we're getting close to 100. That'll be quite impressive.
Wow.
That'll be
Yeah.
100 chats on my channel. Well, now on both of our channels.
That'd be crazy, won't it?
Well, you guys are at, what was yours? Nearly 50?
Yeah, we hit. Yeah, we're gonna hit 50 soon
That's
if
crazy.
we
It feels
haven't
like
already. Yeah.
you and Beck only started not long ago doing the chats.
Yeah,
Wow, and that's nearly a year.
exactly.
So,
Okay.
welcome to everybody who's in the chat. Let me just scroll back and see who was first in. Bum Crack Picker. Oh, everybody's favourite name. And we've got Jason, Dr. Doodle Doo, Chelsea's in there, Panzer, Gary's in there, who is Southwest Sellers, Adrian, Tactical Bite. Lots of people popping in to say hi. You may have seen from the title, we actually got organised and came up with a theme, basically because I'm still clearing all of this tech stuff. It's fresh in my mind. I don't know, we just wanted to talk about selling electricals, really, trying to give some hints and tips out. Zaheer's a bit of an expert, perhaps more than I am, at selling his
I just
electricals.
think it's nice to talk about like themes, topics like this, because obviously you must get a lot of questions about what should I sell? I'm starting out, I'm new to reselling. What's a good item to pick up? And I suppose if we do a few chats like this where we can kind of pick on different topics, I think that's a good idea. And I think tech's a most comfortable one for me to start on with, and you've actually been doing pretty well with it.
I've been enjoying it this time. I've had a big clear out. I'm almost at the end of it. I've just got some bulky old, what do you call it, slide projectors to sort out. But I did share in the Tat Chat, which is our Facebook group. Link should be below for that, actually. That I sold some quite high value DVD recorders and a Sony set-top box, and was getting, it was almost £400 total for 3 items. And somebody asked a question on that, which I thought we could touch on first, which was a really good question, which was, they said, I can't remember who it was, apologies for that, but they said that they shy away from picking them up because they're paranoid that they're going to be broken. And they said, do you pick up many broken items? And I had a think, and I reckon it's less than 1 in 10 is bust. What's your sort of hit rate on buying electricals that don't work?
Well, I want to touch on a couple of things first. Like you said, you're enjoying listing the electricals, and the funny thing is, at the moment, I'm not. I think I've had my fill of them recently, and I've actually got piles of them stacked up, but I'm just not touching them. I've actually got like man-sized piles, like of recorders and amps and whatnot. And I don't want to touch them. I'm actually avoiding them at the moment. And I think it's important. It's interesting because you've got to do what you enjoy. And I think like last time, I remember you said you had a real struggle getting through. You'd put it off, and then you forced yourself
because the thought of it was really just, and there's so many other things that I find easy to list. But I think because I forced myself to do it last time, I was quite looking forward to it this time because the results are so quick with electricals. A lot of this is selling the same day I put it up, or the next few days. There'll be some that will be long tail.
Sure.
But I was going to ask you, I mean, I remember looking at your piles of stereo equipment and VCRs and stuff. And do you think you're not listing it because your mind is so consumed with what you've got now?
I think, yeah, I mean, it's a combination. I spent quite a few months back. It's all I was listing was hi-fi, and or like hi-fi related stuff. So like yourself, the combi recorders and amps and CD players and whatnot. And I think I kind of just overdid it for myself. I've got a short attention span, and I like to keep myself interested. And at the moment, I'm quite happy with the models and things like that. And it's the last thing on my mind. But I suppose part of it, I need some cash, I can list one of those items, and like you said, pretty quickly I know I'll get a good amount of money for it, because you're right, if you've priced it right and described it right, they tend to sell. And touching on like the whole faulty item thing, I think that's something that does worry and concern a lot of people, and it's something you kind of just have to be willing to take a risk with, because I think overall you're probably in the ballpark where like one or maybe two, or even if it was three items out of 10 that went wrong, which is quite high, it's 30%, 3 out of 10. But if you, even if it was 30%, the cost of purchase is so easy, and the cost of sale versus the cost of purchase, even after your fees, etc., easily consumes that extra cost. So, for example, if you go to a boot fair, you'll know most times you'll be paying a tenner for, you know, a combi or something like that. £10 is quite a bit to pay. Sometimes you'll pay a fiver, sometimes you might pay 20. But even if you get like three go wrong out of every 10, just add an extra fiver onto what you've paid, and you're still going to find that when you come to selling it, so what if you've paid 20 instead of 15 and sold it for 100? It's still going to.
Yeah, I think that's what I said in response to that question, was that the economics of it work out. Even if you do have a few fails here and there, the profit margin, let's say you get a couple of VCRs for a fiver, they're not amazing ones, but they sell at 50. It doesn't matter if you bought another two that day that didn't work, your margin is still healthy. And the other thing about electricals, which was another topic, is you can sell them as spares or repair. Not so much the lower end stuff, but the high. Let's say you bought a Toshiba DVD combi, like one I've just sold for 180. If that was broken, I could still sell it at profit.
Yeah.
And you have to keep that in mind. So it's not a loss, even if it doesn't work. It's like if you pick up a PS2 for a fiver, if it doesn't work, you can sell the unit for more than that. You can sell the mains lead for more than that. You can sell the controller for more than that. So it's like win anyway.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So you have to keep that in mind.
And I think it's also important to remember, I think, I mean, this is like a general, I suppose, tip or observation, I'd like to call it, really, is that, you know, we talk about vintage items and antique items, right? And, you know, just like in video games, you've got games now which have become old enough and have become rare because they're vintage or because they're retro now. The same thing happens in clothes, doesn't it? Like when people talk about like, oh, that's a vintage tag of such and such brand. The same thing happens in hi-fi. If you look at, if you know your market and you look at what is considered to be a music system nowadays, tend to be little Bluetooth speakers to which you play your phone's music through. And it's becoming increasingly rare to find hi-fi shops and things like that. So you'll find that items that, you know, hold their value at the very least, and in some cases become really desirable, like, you know, certain amps out there, certain you know, certain CD players, things like that. I mean, you know, will surprise you that a lot of people won't attach value to them because all they'll see is like a boring looking black or grey box,
Yeah.
which takes up loads of room, which their new fancy Bluetooth hi-fi system doesn't. That's all they'll see. But what they won't appreciate is that secondhand to a hi-fi person, they'll still pay over 100, God knows what else for it, depending on what it is, obviously.
Yeah. And another thing, and I think puts people off, is that it is by very nature a very technical area. And I don't understand how all the functions on a DVD to VHS combi recorder, I don't understand the ins and outs. I don't know a lot about it. It's not equipment that I tend to use. As a layman, all you really need to know is that model number. And you can use that model number to search on eBay, find out how much they go for. And beyond that, yes, you do have to do a bit of testing, but all you need for that, and this is something I'll go on to in a minute, is a very basic knowledge about testing it. You don't have to test every single function. You'd be there for hours, days. I mean, how far do you go with testing? That's a good question, actually. If you had a DVD to VHS combi, I doubt you'd actually do the recording bit, would you?
Most cases, no. I mean, it does when it comes to recording. I will do it if it's like got a hard drive to record onto the hard drive. And if it's like, sometimes it can happen where a machine will play discs fine and it will seem like it's working, but the laser which is used to burn the discs isn't working. So you can get caught out in that respect. So if it was a particularly valuable item, you could in theory be like, oh, actually I will like just record 5 seconds onto this DVD and see if it works and does its little finalization or whatever, you know, finalizing where it makes the disc usable for standard players. So there is an argument for that, but you're right. If say most of the functions work, like the basics, the chances are 99.9% of the times the rest of it's going to work. It's very unlikely that most of the basic functions won't work, and then some obscure one won't. It's very unlikely for that to.
Exactly, and I think that comes with experience. When you've sold enough and you haven't had any comeback, you get that little bit of confidence that I feel happy that all the tests that I normally do are enough to feel confident. Of course, like you said, there's going to be that one time when it all goes wrong, and you just have to swallow that. But yeah, I do think a lot of people are put off by having to test these items and not really understanding them.
One Man Right said you missed nothing because Jason then also came in late. One Man Right said you missed nothing just talking about Z's piles of tech, I may add. And then Jason decided to super chat £2 to buy some cream for his piles.
I didn't see any super chats coming.
It just popped. Popped in earlier. The
Oh,
chat's moving quickly, so.
Oh, good Lord, it is. Yeah. I just wanted to touch on a couple of things. I was half reading the chat before. Karen Fish is in there. I don't know if you've managed to catch Karen's video, Zaheer.
Not yet, no.
She started a channel and put a video out, so go over there and check that.
I will do, definitely.
Guys,
oh, brilliant!
Somebody also asked, who was watching our Price is Right special, which was hilarious the other night. Who was that guy, Tez? That's Sam, who goes by the name Tez Nutkins, who's been in reselling on and off for the last 2 or 3 years. We know him quite well. He's a great bloke, and he's got a channel as well. So if you search Sam Tez Nutkins, you should be able to find that. So check him out as well. He's just got back into reselling, actually. He's doing really well.
Yeah.
Apparently I've got my Tintin hair on today. I was saying before we went live, I can't control my quiff at the minute. It's all gone a bit weird. Oh, Lonnie's in here. I was watching Lonnie live just before.
Yeah, I popped into that as well. Just to touch on a few comments, Electronic Firing Squad says 40% of my sales come from broken electronics. I buy electronics I know are broken to resell, and that definitely is. And Gerard Ashworth says some really old and not working early 80s and late 70s VHS recorders are now worth over £100. I mean, yeah, like anything, you know, you pick up experience, like you said, Nick. The more you sell these things, the more you kind of dabble in it, the more you'll pick up little, you know, hints and tips. So for example, a really good tip for you guys out there is when you're testing an item, say it's got like a lot of functions that you're not going to go through, the remote control, you can easily make sure that every button on the remote control is working by just shining it into the camera of your phone. And what will happen is the infrared will the on the clicker, as they call it, will light up, so you can make sure that every button is working. So it's just simple test, right? It doesn't take any time. You don't need to test every function. And there you go.
That is a good quick one to say that you've tested a remote and it works.
Yeah,
that really does work. Yeah, it's just jumped. Hold on, I just saw a comment I was going to read. No, I've lost it. No, it's gone. Maybe Nick was Tintin when he was younger. Whatever. Anybody had any success with replacing the bands on cassette tape players? I've not got involved.
Yeah, it's worth doing. I know people have done that to me. I've sold recently a few like really rare Walkmans that if they were working would be worth a lot more. But I've sold them to people that I know are going to be fixing them and selling them on at full profit, but they still paid me about 50 quid for the broken Walkman. So I'm not going to argue. I paid someone £1 or £2 at the boot fair. I sell it on to someone who for about 50. They buy it for 50, maybe spend a £5 or a tenner in parts, get it working, and then they can sell it for 150. And it's just the way it works, right? I mean,
I don't tend to get involved in repairs. The one thing I have done recently is I got a drive belt for a Cine projector, because it's quite an old piece of kit. It's from like the 60s or 70s, I think it's 60s. So it's quite chunky and quite easy to get in, and you can see what you're doing. It's hooking up this pulley to that pulley with a belt. When you get to like Walkmans and stuff, it's so minute, it's so fiddly. I think I'd just make it worse if I opened it up and attempted it. But I did fix that. Actually, I need to sell that, actually. It's another thing on the list. But yeah, I mean, if you've got the knowledge and the patience and the ability to repair stuff, go for it. But recently I sold that Betamax, and I'm starting to think I did undersell it, but I got 25 quid for a really grotty, knackered Betamax player. So yeah, it's all good. It was only £3 invested in it anyway. Someone was asking if your ego's okay after your performance on The Price is Right.
Whatever. I'm not even answering that. I'm not bitter. The important thing is I got my yo-yo fixed. So.
Oh yeah. That conversation you were having in the background was hilarious.
In now, so
you can get your finger in the hole now. Oh yeah, thanks Jason for the £2 super chat. Cream for your piles there, Z.
Thank you.
So I had a few little topics that came to mind about selling electricals. I mean, I'm not the most experienced person, but I've dabbled in it since I started reselling, really. Since way back in the beginning when I was buying and selling consoles a lot, I've always sold electronics. One good little tip, and I don't know if you do this here, is to actually photograph the serial number and have a picture of the serial number of the item in your listing. So if you come across a scammer who's trying to buy a unit and send you back a faulty unit, you've got that evidence that the serial numbers are different. You still have to fight your case. It doesn't mean you're automatically going to win, but having a serial number picture and then maybe write it in your listing as well and in the description box means that scammers are going to be a little bit put off because they know that you know what serial number your unit has on it. It doesn't stop every sort of scam out there, but would you say that's a good tip?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I tend to take photos of the labels for a number of reasons. One of the main reasons as well is it makes it easier to get a good title for the item, because then you've got a photo there with the model number and the manufacturer's way of describing what it is. Sure. With any technology keywords. And yeah, then if you've got the serial number, you definitely can have that there. And I also find that if it's particularly valuable, I'll add the serial number to the item specifics manually. So I'll just add item specific, call it serial number, and jot the number in, and then that way it's in the item specifics as well. So yeah, which is pretty which makes me feel good that I've done what I can. Yeah.
Sorry, I was going to say regarding photographs, when I've been doing some of these like DVD combis and that, they have all sorts of outputs and inputs on the back.
Yeah.
And what I've found is when I'm taking a picture of the serial number, I'll just take a series of pictures all along the back. So, technical buffs can go in and see exactly what inputs and outputs it has, because I'm not going to sit there and explain all of those. I don't understand what half of them are.
Again, you can actually add those when you're listing hi-fi, and when I know certainly for listing amps and hi-fi and combis, I'm pretty sure that one of the specifics comes up is audio and video inputs outputs. So obviously you need to know what you're looking at, but if you do know what you're looking at, you can quickly tick those, and that will mean that when someone's searching for a machine with a specific input or output, they're more likely to find your item as well. So well worth doing that as well. I mean you'll it's very simple to learn what those are, because it will just mean that you're gonna, once you've done enough of them, you're going to have an idea of what something is. I mean, I've been asked this, and I'm going to do it. I know I'm going to do it. I'm going to make a series of little videos with these kind of explanations, like basics, but there's only a certain number of outputs you need to learn about. So for audio, you've got your standard red and white, which is the standard, RCA audio outs. Then you've got optical and digital coaxial, optical out and in. So those just makes it that they're like quite easy.
The thing is, I think because you've had a history of that and you use it in your life and you're into that, all of that makes sense.
Yeah.
you kind of lost me immediately then, and I just, it doesn't appeal to me, all that tech side of it. But what I was going to say was, I mean, you are right, and you could put some time in and fill in all of those specifics. I've never had any trouble selling this stuff. It always sells well and quick, and I've never put those specifics in. So what I'm saying is, I do agree with you, and I should really take the time and effort to fill all that in. But I know that just taking the pictures and having the actual model number in the
That's
title
enough.
is enough.
Yeah,
Somebody,
definitely.
most people will be searching these by model number, I think.
The majority of people, you're right. I mean, it depends what you're selling, though. I mean, I'd agree with, like, for example, you're selling combis and things like that. Most of the users of those items are going to be elderly people that have still got VHS tapes, or a member of someone that's elderly and they want to copy their old VHS tapes onto DVD.
Yeah.
So you're right. Most of those buyers aren't going to be concerned whether something has an optical output or a coaxial output, or whether it's got balanced audio out and or not. You know, things like that. However, if you then start selling some of the stuff I've been selling, it does matter. Like if you're going to be selling a Revox amp, they're going to ask you those questions. You know, they'll ask you, they'll know the, some of those people will even know like the common faults with those items. So if an item's been out for long enough, they'll ask, oh, do you have like crackling on the treble knob or whatever, you know, things like that. So it depends on what you're selling as well,
Yeah,
within the niche.
with any niche, isn't there?
Yeah,
There's whole levels of this, and I'm
exactly.
basically dabbling at the kind of entry to middle level, and beyond that, I lose knowledge, and I would need the knowledge to really.
But you'd pick it up though. You probably, I mean, you probably know like most of the stuff anyway. Like by visually anyway. Like visually, you'd recognize these things. It's just, you know, putting a name to it, I suppose. But like you said, or combis and things, it doesn't really matter. By the way, you've had a super chat from Electronic Firing Squad.
Oh, I'm not seeing these. Damn. Oh, there, it's just popped up. Hold on, hang on. Oh, oh wow, $10. Oh, Electronic Firing Squad's in the US. I hadn't realized. For some reason, I assumed it was UK. Electronic Firing Squad has said, thanks so much for the super chat, by the way. I appreciate that. Always love the vids. Such a great YouTube resale community, and excited to be starting my channel very soon. Fantastic.
I love that people are starting channels.
Yeah,
Like,
well,
it's so
Electronic
cool.
Firing Squad will be right up our alley, because he's reselling. He was saying before that most of what he does is electronics, and he was saying in a comment before that a lot of what he buys he knows is faulty, and he's going to resell faulty electronics. So yeah, I'm looking forward to the videos. When you do start your channel, let me know, and I'll drop some links in, or join the Tat Chat and share your channel on there. Be fantastic.
Sure.
Really appreciate that. Oh, Vinny's in there. Hi, Vinny.
Hi there.
Talking of videos, I don't know if Vinny's doing videos on his reselling channel anymore. You'll have to let us know what's going on with that.
Oh, George Ross has had a good bit of success. He was given some speakers for free at auction, and they've already sold for 150 quid off to Germany.
Oh,
Fantastic,
wow.
George.
A freebie.
Yeah, I mean the thing is, those speakers he had, I think they were Celestians. I can't remember. And on some of those, that you can even sell the drivers and take those out, like the actual drive units, and sell them for good money. But yeah, great quick sell there for a freebie, definitely.
I've just, Kirsten's popped in. Hi, Kirsten. She says, all I can hear is white noise. Z talking about electrics. But that's the thing, you see, there are a lot of people who, I know it's all, you know, common stuff that you were talking about, inputs and outputs, but I kind of glaze over and I feel like I know a little bit about it. So to a lot of people, it's going to be, it is a frightening subject to some people.
It is, but it's just as frightening as when I see those charts of different collar styles that so many clothing resellers can reel
Yeah.
off the top of their tongue. You know, like people can. There's clothing resellers out there that could describe pretty much every style out there, and for me, that's pretty scary to have that amount of knowledge. And that's all it is. It's knowledge, guys. So whatever you're selling, if you are knowledgeable in it, it will just make it a bit easier. That's all. It's not necessary, but I mean, most of this stuff, like you said, it's all you need is the model number. You know, you don't need anything else. Like even if you're selling like a Krell amp, okay, those things cost like thousands. They weigh like that, you know, tons. You're not going to find one at a boot fair. I'll tell you that now. You know, you'll wait. If you do, you're the luckiest person I've ever met. But if, for example, you found a Krell amp, okay, you're going to look at the back of it. You're going to see a model number. You're going to put that model number in, and your eyeballs are going to pop out when you see what they sell for. You know, for a single mono block or whatever. And it doesn't matter whether you know what it is or not, as long as you can do some, you know, basic stuff with it, like, you know, basic testing. Or if you said, like you said, you can even sell some things as faulty for really good money. So
Yeah.
you
But
know, yeah.
going back to the sort of stuff I've been clearing out is the
Mm,
sort of stuff that you will see regularly at your boot sales, your video,
definitely.
your DVD players. And I've just seen a couple of people. Kirsten was saying that she doesn't want to sell it. Somebody else was saying, don't want to get involved. I wouldn't touch electrics if you paid me. Can't remember who that was. But with the common stuff, that you're leaving money on the table. You really are.
And can I just say one other thing? Like, we touched on people being afraid that items they're picking up are faulty. Now, the same phobia that some people are exhibiting about tech is probably the same phobia that leads people to think an item is faulty and sell it to you for a couple of quid at a boot fair. A great example that pops to my mind, it's an electronic, but it's not an electronic in its normal sense. It was a Gadget espresso machine. A lady sold me this machine for a fiver because it still powers on, but nothing comes out of the steam wand. And I knew that just means it hadn't been descaled.
Yeah.
So she sold it to me for a fiver. So a lot of times I took it home, got it sorted, and it sold. You know, for like 150 quid. So
Wow.
you know, the same phobias that people are exhibiting are the same phobias that a lot of people have, and they will assume things have gone wrong. For example, digital radios are a good one, DAB radios. Sometimes people will you know, find that the radio is frozen for whatever reason, like the software on it has frozen, so it won't function properly, or it'll be stuck on a screen.
Mm.
Sometimes there's nothing you can do. It might just be faulty, but there have been times where I've bought items knowing apparently faulty from the buyer, and I've just had to go onto the internet and type in factory reset or whatever, you know, hard reset.
Yeah. That leads on to another one, actually. I mean, that does come down to knowledge and having the nerve to take a chance on that. But I watched a video somewhere. It was on Pete's channel, I think, where he had a Nintendo Wii that had parental controls added. And he did a bit of research and he found out that there was a fairly easy fix. So it's having that bit of knowledge, or just using YouTube to find out, because if you searched on YouTube Wii parental controls, there's plenty of videos explaining exactly how to get those taken off, and then you've gone from an item that was unusable to an item that's perfectly saleable. So it's about, you know, using your brain, doing a little bit of research and getting it done. But yeah, that was an interesting video that Pete put out. I just saw another comment. Vinny replied to me. He said he's going to start making videos at some point again, which would be cool. Oh, hang on, it's jumped. Oh, Darren's in there. Hi, Darren.
Hi, Daz. Yeah, it's a lot of chat. Wow, we
I
need to
haven't
keep
caught up.
track of the chat better. We
Peter
really do.
May said he's got an update on his channel. I haven't had a look yet, but I'll do that later. Krillin's in there. He's just super chatted $2. Ever add YouTube vid to listing to show how it works? I haven't, but I know a lot of people have. Did you ever put videos in your listings?
No, I've never. Again, that's something people have done, but I've not found it necessary.
And haven't
Yeah.
eBay taken out active content now anyway? So you can't. Does that? I think that includes videos, doesn't it?
I
You
think
know, there was
people
all
still
that talk.
manage to sneak it in somehow, don't they? I don't know. I think you
Ah.
can still. I don't know, but
I remember Margaret was really hot
mm.
on doing that, like with toys and stuff that do movements or have electronics in. She used to show them working, make a little video, and add it to the listing.
Yeah, I don't again, it's one of those things that if you can do it may be great, but is it necessary to sell the item? Probably not. I think most people sell their items without that. and again, I think one of the things to bear in mind is it's just about, like you said, it's about taking a chance. And you do have to learn how some things work to a certain extent. Even if you're not tech savvy, or even if you're not like into electronics, it pays to have a basic knowledge, right? Like, for example, Nick, you're not, like you said, you're not into all the connections and all the tech, but you've got a basic understanding on how to test something, and you do it. So a great example being,
Another.
you know,
Hold on.
learn how to tune a VCR, for example. What's that?
Oh, another sale. I saw
Oh,
the
nice.
last sale was one of those aluminium bottles, which I seem to sell whenever I go live. This was a pair of jeans. So that's one of Andrew's listings. But yeah, I
Cool.
just wanted to put out, while you say that, I really am not a tech savvy person at all. I struggle to do YouTube, you know what I mean? But I managed to get by. Well, I more than get by. I sell electronics quite proficiently, really. So to people watching really on the fence about whether they're going to dabble in it, I would say give it a go, because it's, the thought of it is more frightening than the reality. And I just want to move on to another little tip. And I wonder if you've got a little box somewhere that has in different media, because I have a box. I've grabbed a few bits out of it. If you're going to get into selling electronics, you'll need a cassette.
You need an Ace of Base specifically, do you?
Yep, you have to have Ace of Base, Happy Nation, the album. Obviously, to test Walkmans, etc., you're going to need some vintage media. Like with, if you're going to get into buying and selling consoles, I've grabbed a couple. So I've got PS1, I've got Everybody's Golf there, Tiger Woods on the Cube. And for Wii's, I find this is great for being able to test the nunchuck as well as the controllers. We Play. So yeah, and of course a video. This has got bizarrely, it's got what is it, the Queen's 90th birthday or something on it, with Stevie Wonder singing.
No,
Will.i.am.
I've got exactly the same type of situation. I've got like a bunch of items. So, for example, when it comes to dictation machines, it pays to have the micro cassettes. And also a little tip, guys. Philips uses a slightly different size. If you're looking at dictation machines, they use a mini cassette, which is ever so slightly larger. So I once made the mistake of trying to test a Philips dictation machine and thinking it was faulty because I was putting a micro cassette in, because it was just not fully turning properly. Yeah, or it might be the other way around, that the Philips is even smaller than the normal micro cassette, but there's mini cassettes and there's micro cassettes or something like that. So there is a different size.
So
The
it actually
Philips,
fitted in but wouldn't play.
yeah,
Oh my
yeah.
god, how
So
annoying.
worth checking out. There are two different sizes of dictation machine cassettes, but yeah, dictation machine cassettes you should have, obviously, like a music CD, a DVD, a blank VHS, and definitely all these things are great.
Tools of the trade. What else did I have down here? If something doesn't work, sell it as spares. We've covered that already.
Yeah.
And also, if something doesn't work, it sometimes pays you to not only sell it as spares, but to split off the other bits. You know what I mean? So you can sell remotes for stuff are sometimes worth as much as a faulty video. The remote itself could be worth, some are crazy, like 20 or 30 quid. If you get into like the Toshiba combis, the remotes themselves you can get 30 quid for sometimes.
Amplifiers are a good thing to look out for as well. When you're at a boot fair and they've got those boxes of remotes, sometimes it's just worth having a rummage, because if there's a substantial size remote control with lots of inputs at the top, like CD tape, or auxiliary and radio, whatever, etc., chances are it belongs to an amplifier, and amplifier remotes can sometimes do quite well. And sometimes there's some gems in there. I mean, I think once I picked up a Bose remote for like 50p or £1. I sold that for about 30 or 40 quid. Some remotes can fetch comfortably 30, 40 quid. It's just a case of keeping an eye out on these things.
I did well on it's Arcam amp that it was actually a Facebook pickup. I think I shared it with you a while back. I'm not sure if it is on a video. No, it wasn't Facebook. It was eBay local collection. So we had it on bids and it went up to, I think I got it for 30. and then I sold it for 100. So that was pretty
Nice. Yeah.
good. Yeah.
Yeah, Arcam's a very good manufacturer. There's little telltale signs that will give away whether something's good. I mean, obviously, where something's made is normally a good one when it comes to electronics. Um, the funny thing is, it tends to be mostly like made in Japan is like the normal gold standard, but then for the really good stuff, it actually comes back mostly to England. So like the really good stuff, like the really high end, manufacturers tend to make some of their stuff in the UK. So always worth looking out for. And there's little things that you'll be able to pick up on. I mean, just the weight of an item sometimes is a really good indicator as well.
Yes.
So if you find a CD player or an amp, if it feels a bit flimsy and light, it's not going to be good as good as something that's got a bit of weight and strength to the case, because those are all things that better quality manufacturers tend to use.
Definitely. One Man Riot saying, can you give some examples of electricals you've sold? I'm planning on doing a little bit of sales roundup of the stuff I've been clearing. So that'll be coming soon on this channel anyway. Someone just saying that they were trying to test a cassette player and found that I had no cassettes. Well, there you go. You see, you need to get yourself a little box with all these things in. So handy. Adam Kelsey, question: sending electronics. Where do you source boxes strong enough and big enough to send your electronics? I actually found I was taking the dog out, and there was somebody had just bought a brand new Panasonic massive TV, and the box was by the bin. So I grabbed that and I cut that in half, did a bit of a bodge job on it, and that was big enough to take the Toshiba Combi and the Panasonic video recorder. But what I did was I bubble wrapped them, made a cardboard sleeve around it that way, and then I floated it inside that Panasonic TV box with a load of newspaper around it. So it was cushioned, but it was also inside cardboard and bubble wrap inside. One was going GSP as well, so that's got a long way to go. But yeah, I tend to make Franken boxes. I don't know about you, Zaheer.
Yeah, same basically. I mean, what I'll tend to do as well is just use large bubble wrap rather than small bubble wrap. I think I like large bubble wrap, and then just wrap it in sheets of cardboard. Like, so take boxes and just flatten them out and just wrap the item in it. Or if you're going to be selling some of this stuff, you can buy double wall boxes off of eBay in bulk for not too much money, and you can always factor that into your cost if you want.
I've just ordered some big size bubble wrap because the normal, I don't know, I think I've used most of it up, you can't see it, but the normal little stuff, the bubbles don't actually hold up to much. I think the beauty of the larger stuff is it's actually better made, so they don't pop as soon as you put them around something. So yeah, I've actually ordered some of the bigger stuff, yeah, which will do a better job. Krillin has just super chatted $2, so thanks for that. It says, Nick and Z, please say aluminium in the New York accent.
Oh gosh,
aluminum.
Yes, aluminum. Yeah,
I can't do it. I can't do an American accent. You try.
I don't know, aluminum.
What I don't get about the Americans is why do they take out, what is it? They take out a whole U, don't they? Aluminium. No, they take out an I, because it's actually aluminium. It's not aluminum, is it? I've never understood that.
It's
yeah, you don't want to hear my American accent. I can't do it. Okay, let me see if I had any more little tips that came to mind. A couple of bits about buying. When you're out buying electronics, what to look for. If you're talking about handheld portable stuff, the obvious one that you've got to try and teach your brain not to forget, it only takes a second, is to open the battery cover, because that can be the difference between something that's useless and something that's fine. Although you can clean out the contacts, which we'll go on to in a minute, but it's well worth training yourself to just check in the battery cover.
Yeah, I mean, I'd check it just as a tactic, if you will, or say someone's asking a high price, I'd use it just to say, well, look, it corroded inside, because yes, there's a chance you can fix it, but there's also a chance that you won't be able to revive it, because sometimes the corrosion can be so bad that during cleaning, springs can snap off.
Off, yeah, because they
um,
rusted through.
exactly.
And also, what I find sometimes you can make an item work once you've cleaned out the battery cover, you got rid of all that acid residue, but the acid has stained the actual plastic, and that's enough because you have to declare that in your pictures, and that can be enough. Like on a sort of 10-15 pound Walkman, that can just kill the value because there's loads on eBay. Why is someone going to buy yours with stains all in it? So it can be a bit of a drag. But how is it you clean yours? Do you have a technique?
I think I just use white vinegar.
Yeah,
And you can also use bicarb and make like a little paste out of it.
that's right. Yeah,
You can do
I've
that.
watched a video
Yeah,
where they used bicarbonate of soda and their no baking soda it was, I
it's
think.
baking soda. Yeah,
They made up a paste and a little like
cotton bud.
in a cotton bud and just dabbed it on, and then that took the acid away.
Yeah,
So yeah,
neutralizes it. Yeah, I mean, definitely. I think for small items are a great way to start as well when it comes to electronics. So if you're new to it, and or you've been afraid to pick up electronics, they're a great way to dabble, because there are lots and lots of good value small items, and hopefully when you pick them up and you make a little bit of money with these smaller items, you can do well. I mean, items that pop to my head obviously are Walkmans, CD players, cassette, like cassette Walkmans. You've got things like guitar pedals. I know they're not, well, they are kind of electronic because they've got batteries in them, but yeah, guitar, like loop pedals and things like that, they can be worth picking up as well. Portable DAB radios, worth picking up.
yeah,
um there's definitely, is a obviously dictation machines, so many different things. So start off with something that's easy to package and easy to pick up.
handheld
Yeah,
consoles are a good one if you can pick them up.
exactly. So give that a go and see whether you're comfortable with it, and then slowly you might decide, okay, I'm willing to pick up a VCR or an old hi-fi separate, like an old CD player or something, but because it really can be worth it. I mean, like you said, Nick, you had that Arcam amp there, £100 sale, and that was a pickup from eBay. I mean, one of my best recent pickups was from eBay as well, where I bought a bunch of Bose speakers at auction. I think they cost me like 28 quid or something, and I ended up with 8 Bose speakers, which I then sold for like 100 odd quid each. It was insane. It was, it was
So you got
crazy.
100 each. So you got eight
Yeah,
back.
yeah, but yeah. Was it 8? Yeah, I think it was 8, and I sold them for
Were
about
you doing them
100
in
each.
pairs, or were they?
No, I was selling them. Was I doing them in pairs? Maybe I was doing them in pairs. You're right. I
I
think it was
remember
a
it was
pair.
amazing the return, but
I think it was, no, I think you're right. I think it was 100 a pair. Sorry, apologies. So it's more like 400 out of the
yeah. Oh,
28
but
odd quid.
still, I mean, oh my
Yeah,
god,
exactly. Yeah, yeah. No, I think you're right. But that was, it's once you become used to it, it's definitely a great niche to get into.
totally. So I was just distracted by the chat.
Wow. Yeah.
Um, Gary says his last Panasonic DVD VHS combi went to Latvia. I think the one that I've just shipped, the Toshiba I just shipped, is going to France. So it's not actually going too far, but it's still got to, get on a plane. But I packed the hell out of that. That went for 185, I think I got on that one.
Fair enough.
Reselling Polly. Picked up my first electronic chess with some battery corrosion, but still working. Only cost me £1, so worth a go. It'll still be worth trying to clean up that battery compartment so you can take a picture, and show that it's okay.
Yeah.
Gerard Ashworth, welcome, Gerard. It says world band radios are very often worth picking up.
Yeah.
So usually worth between 25 and 60. World band. So what's
It's something with shortwave on it. So normally when you pick up a radio, you'll see FM, AM on there, or
yeah.
FM, AM, and medium wave. And obviously you've got long wave as well. But shortwave, and they have shortwave on them, and they tend to have a bit of value. And yeah, they can pick up world stations.
Somebody was asking me earlier, and I forgot to mention it. They said, "What's in the green green and yellow box above the orange one. Well, the orange one first, since we're talking about tech, this is something that hopefully I'm going to list tonight, is a Kinderman slide projector. This one is actually the, okay, I'll grab it, hold on. Cine projectors that I've found, I sold quite a number over the years. They're really hit and miss. It depends a lot on the make. For some reason, this one's quite good. This is a Sankyo Dulux 1000. Off the top of my head, I think they go for top end of 60, 70 maybe. This is the one I had to repair the belt on because it's from the 60s. They were a rubber belt and the rubber had just, it's got white stuff growing out of it. It was all like decayed and weird. It's like it had been eaten away by just time. I think it just kind of eaten itself. So that had just literally corroded and fallen apart. So I had to order a replacement band, and that was really easy. That was on eBay. I just searched the model number of that, and up it came with somebody who's been selling spares for that for years on a listing, you know, hundreds and hundreds sold. And it was, I think it was a couple of quid for the band plus 99p shipping or something to take an item that was, I could have sold it without the band, but nobody was going to buy it.
Yeah.
So it's turned an item from pretty much useless and hard to sell into hopefully a quick flip at, you know, 60 plus, hopefully. So yeah, that's what was in that box. It's a Super 8 projector for the old home cine films. Okay. Krillin's asked, are TI-83 calculators a hot item in the UK? Not as much. I mean, at school, most people are asked to pick up the Casios, aren't they? FX ones.
I think good graphing calculators are still going to be worth money, aren't they? I think I've sold the odd calculator for about £30+ because it's, you know, like more suited to like a degree maths course or something like that, where
right, so the ones with the bigger screens that do
yeah. So it's just I don't think people are as hot on them over here. I mean, I know in the US, I think a lot of people talk about you know, college books and graphing, you know, the Texas TI-83 and whatever, because it's quite known bolo out there. I
think the Texas Instruments in general sell more in the US. I don't think they're a big brand over here, so I rarely see them. I don't know if you do. I see a lot of Casios which don't really hold any value anymore.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, I tend to see like the ones that everyone buys for their kids before school for like 7-8 quid new. You know, those ones we see loads of.
I still pick them up because my daughter loses hers like every year, so I just give them to her now.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, I think if it's got a big screen and it can do graphs, if it's a graphing calculator, it's going to have some value.
Yeah. L33 misses says, so my £10 for a Panasonic combo was a good buy then? I would say so.
Yep.
If that's a VHS to DVD combo, or record, if it's a recorder, even better.
Definitely.
Okay, how are we doing time wise? Oh wow,
6:50.
Wow. Well, those were the things that popped into my head about hints and tips that I'd thought of recently since testing all this stuff and going through a massive pile of Nintendo Wiis. Oh, another one with Nintendo Wiis. Remember to open that tiny little flap in the middle at the front, because there's quite often a memory card in there.
I mean, like, I think we've gone over this where the more you do it, the more bits of knowledge you pick up. So, for example, when it comes to VHS recorders, everyone knows that if you pick up a Sony or a Panasonic VHS recorder, depending on the model, you're going to be looking at maybe like a 30 to 50 odd pound, you know, sale on those items. But some of you guys will also know that if you pick up a VHS recorder that is actually an SVHS recorder, looks exactly like a regular VHS recorder, but is going to be made most likely by JVC because they're the ones that like pioneered it. If you know what a Super VHS recorder is, then you'll know that your what looks like a bog standard VCR that you might think will get you between 30 and 50 pound, suddenly will get you about 120 to 150 pound, depending on condition. So.
Sorry to interrupt you there. That freaked me out. A heron, you know how big herons are?
Yeah.
just flew direct at my office window. It looked like a pterodactyl, not a word of a lie, and it was freaking me out. And it must have just skimmed over the roof of my office. It was huge.
Wow.
Oh my God.
That is strange.
It seriously looked like a dinosaur with that massive bill that they have at the front. Good Lord. Yeah. Yeah, but you're right. Over years, you pick up certain brands that you know you can't really lose out on. I've been, someone mentioned Tez Nutkins earlier. I've been watching his pickups and going back in the past. He loves to pick up the vintage boom boxes, like in the late 70s and 80s, where you used to literally carry it on your shoulder. And I can't remember the mates. What would you say were the mates of those? Was Sony big on those?
All the major manufacturers, I mean, Panasonic ones as well do well. Sanyo ones do well. There's these JVC tube ones, um, old Philips ones. I mean, some of them can be worth lots and lots of money.
Yeah.
You know,
And I remember he was saying in some of his videos that certain elements of it didn't work. The cassette player wasn't doing a function or this, that, and the other. And he was still selling them quick and for good money because people that are into that, again, we said this before, they're going to repair it. They're going to enjoy repairing it and spending the time, so that there's still value in it, even if they're broken. Okay.
yes, a lot of tat. Some is really overpriced. Others, oh, okay.
Oh, we've had
Others,
this sort of question before. Let me just read the whole way through it. Carmel says, when selling games, do you play them through before selling? My son bought a used PS2 game from CEX today, €18, but it stopped playing 10 minutes in, so I returned it. To be quite honest, it's not going to be worth your time. And so you might have found that fault 10 minutes in, but what if the fault is 2 hours in? You know? So I think it's a false economy to think you're going to play through every game.
yeah, definitely.
So I never do. With cartridges and vintage stuff, I tend to fire them up if I can, if I've got a console handy. But with disc games, I just go on the quality of the disc, just visually. If it's scratched to bits and it's worth it, I'll get it repaired.
Yeah, I mean, just to put another little tip out there as well, like when we were talking about tech and things like that, um, people love to pick up iPods out there, right? One thing I would suggest is if you're out and about and you see an iPod that's like one of the old school larger ones with a mechanical hard drive in it, if you can't see it working at the boot fair, assume that it's faulty and then buy it knowing that it's faulty. And you know, so they're still worth picking up if you're brave enough to pop it open and maybe swap the hard drive out or the battery or whatever needs changing. But old like iPod classics with mechanical hard drives in them, you know, unless they show you them working, the chances are the battery's either dead on it or the hard drive is knackered, and you may have to do a little replacement, which is not easy. But again, I understand it's not everyone's cup of tea. If you buy the nanos, however, as long as the battery's working, they tend to be fine because they're like flash memory on those, isn't it? So
wasn't there an early model that there was a recall on that you could still send them back, and did that finish
it's finished.
recently?
Yeah, it was the first generation of iPod Nano. You could send it back and they'd swap it out for you. But yeah, that's finished. However, it's worth still picking up a first generation Nano because they still sell even faulty for like 20 odd quid plus.
Yeah. We're almost coming to the hour. I just wanted to talk a little bit. It just came into my head about, we're talking about stuff that's collected. I mean, early iPods are becoming collected already. There's quite a voracious market for people wanting to buy back tech from only like 10, 15 years ago. So
Yeah.
what do you think moving forward? I know what I think is going to be the next really big collector's market in tech, and that is mobile phones. I think that they're so throwaway, or not so much throwaway, but we tend to sell one to buy the next one, or we trade it in to fund the next one, or we just give it to our daughter, son, or whatever, or our dad. I give loads of my phones to my parents or Ellen or whatever, and they just go, don't they? Or you sell it to We Buy Any Phone, whatever.
Yeah, I mean, I think
So
there's definitely a market in vintage phones already. Certain models I think can already fetch really good money. So, for example, if you guys out there remember the Matrix movie, when Keanu Reeves gets that phone, it was a Nokia phone, and it was blatant bit of advertising in a movie. So bear in mind, the Matrix came out what late 90s, if not early 2000. I think it was late 90s, like probably 97, 98, something like that. And he opens it and it clicks, and the phone has like a little slide mechanism on it, and it was the coolest thing in the world. I remember one of my friends having that phone, and I was green with envy. Um,
yeah, well, I
but
think didn't
yeah,
like some of the really popular phones from sort of mid to late 90s suddenly had a resurgence, like the Nokia 3210s and stuff.
that's it.
They
Yeah, I
were
mean,
they're becoming trendy as well, and like really hipster, weren't they? People were going around with retro phones. I don't know if that's still a thing. Was that just a
Well,
phase?
just to give you an example, I've just had a quick look on eBay at the Matrix slide phone, and they're selling for people are asking 50 to 60 pounds for them.
Hmm.
So that's for the slide one. I mean, they do have to be working and in good condition. Ideally, they need to be unlocked. I mean, one guy here got it's a Nokia 8110i, the Matrix Banana Retro Collector's mobile phone. He got 79 quid on it. And that's probably more than you're going to get on last year's you know entry level smartphone. And then yeah, you've got like phones like the Nokia 8210, the really small one. Then there's the Ericsson T28 and things like that. I mean, yeah.
Yeah,
it,
well, that's the sort of thing that your average Joe isn't going to realize, and they're going to give it no value. There'll be thousands, if not millions, in drawers up and down the country. You know, that drawer where everything goes. There'll be Nokias in there that could be worth 40, 50, 60 quid.
yeah,
And they're going to get dragged out to the boot sale, and you'll be able to pick it up for £1 or £2. So I
yeah.
think that's definitely going to be. And then, of course, early iPhones that now you can buy for next to nothing. Give it another 5, 10 years, people will be collecting those.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it happens a lot. I mean, we've got another example, haven't we, with cameras?
Yep.
The Olympus 35 millimeter Mewtwo, sells for now £200 used.
Well, a lot of
They
those,
didn't cost that much when they were new.
no, and
It
a lot
was
of the bog standard point and clicks are starting to become so trendy. I think they're all going up in value, aren't they?
yeah,
To a certain extent. But
yeah,
yeah, that's something I've dabbled in. I picked up the Mew One or whatever it was, and that sold within 24 hours, I think, when I put it
yeah.
on. It was only like 20 odd pounds.
But yeah, definitely. There's always collectible items like that. Defunct formats, which for example, mini disc players, mini disc decks,
Yep.
things like that as well.
Well, the next thing on my list to list is actually talking of tech again. It's quite a nice little bag, little antler leather bag, and it's got a Sony video camera in.
Oh, nice. Yeah,
I've had this on charge for ages, and the battery, the little lithium battery,
has an
isn't holding
indicator.
charge. It's not
Okay.
holding a charge at all. But I've managed to test it all. I recorded a little bit of footage. It's actually got a tape in it with somebody's holiday footage on, which is just freaky. So I'm going to sell it, and it should go really well still. I've just got to declare that the battery doesn't hold charge, and they're going to have to replace
The
that.
battery is not necessarily a bad thing. I've actually sold a number of DV camcorders, especially abroad. And sometimes the buyers will request that you don't put the battery in so it doesn't get stopped, or so their couriers or their shipping companies can take it from them. So I've
Oh,
had
interesting.
people, I've had, when you ship it to like their shippers, as it were, and then they ship stuff back. So
Uh-huh.
battery's not a big issue at all, as long as it's fully working, because the batteries are consumable at the end of the day, isn't it? So
Yeah, it fascinates me with things like this though, because this has been so superseded by so many things, and you sometimes wonder who and why is buying it. But there you go. That's not.
in other countries, they still use them. Like it's
Yeah.
still current tech.
I've just noticed Krillin has again super chatted. Thanks for that. He said, I just sold a vintage 1989 Dustbuster for $65. That's just like a handheld Hoover, isn't it?
Yeah.
What it is? Good Lord.
Peter Ray says, Z, not long now till you have your hair shaved. Yeah, not long to go at all, guys.
Are you looking forward to this?
Yeah, I just want to get it done now. So,
Oh, wow. Can't wait. Are we going to join you live for that? Was that the idea?
yeah, of course, definitely. Like do a live stream and get it all off. Yep.
Right.
All for
Yeah,
good
if
cause. All for
anybody's new
good
to the
cause.
channel
Yeah.
or new to my channel or Zaheer's channel and you don't know what the hell we're talking about, Zaheer came up with a fantastic idea to do Brave the Shave for Macmillan Cancer Research. No, not cancer research, they're cancer support.
Yeah.
So you're going to have your hair shaved off by your lovely wife live on YouTube in a couple of weeks. And there is a sponsorship page for that. If you go to Zaheer's channel, there'll be links over there, I'm sure.
I've just put it in. I've just put one of them into the chat because there's two. Because I've got the Macmillan Zone one, and then there's the one I've done through. Oh God, who's that other company that does it? Or
I can't remember. I'll try and remember after this if Zaheer can send me those links again. I'll put them in. I'll put them in the description below, so people watching this after the event can, well, after this video, not after the Brave the Shave, but can actually go and find the links.
yeah.
But yeah, can't wait for that.
Oh yeah, there's Just Giving. That's it. Just Giving is the other one because people from abroad can't. For some reason, it won't let them donate, which is really annoying through the Macmillan website. So there's a Just Giving one, and I'll stick that into there as well. In total, we've actually raised £725, which is fantastic so far. So
that's amazing.
Yeah.
And Darren has also sold an old Dirt Devil for £40.
Oh, nice.
Vintage vacuums. Oh, Quillen's asked me, do I remember the Pixies? Oh, of course I remember the Pixies. Yes. They play next week. Have you seen them? I've never seen them live. I wasn't in. They weren't one of the bands that I was into enough to go and see live. But yeah, I remember them so clearly from the 90s. What was that track they did? This Monkey's Gone to Heaven. Loved that. Okay. Well, we have managed to spend an hour talking about tech, which was quite amazing.
I think some people are pretty glad that that's over then.
It won't be for everyone, but that's the nature of reselling. I mean, we touch on so many subjects. I mean, and yeah, maybe next week it will be something that other people will be more into. But I think it was certainly fun for me. It was certainly, hopefully, full of advice. Who knows? If somebody's gained something out of it, then our work is done. Yeah. So we're going to leave you here. Zaheer is back on Friday with your hangout.
Yep, and I'm gonna see if I can get a couple of vids out about tech, because just with a few little simple tips that people can look out for, and to maybe get them to dip their toes into it, because like you said, it's worth doing, isn't it?
Yeah, and it is handy. I've found when I've done little very specific hint and tip videos in the past, I found it really easy to then just send people a link when they ask me that exact question. So in the future, you've got a reference point. You can just say, I'll just watch this, rather than having to type out an explanation for something technical. You just watch my video.
Just watch that.
Yeah. Fantastic. Okay, well, thanks as ever, Zaheer, for joining me.
Not at all. Fantastic to talk to you as usual, and thank you for all these wonderful people joining us. How many people? 135 people watching.
Wow. If you do enjoy these, just give us a thumbs up to let us know that you appreciate it. We'll be back next week on Zaheer's channel. No idea what we'll be talking about then. We'll come up with something, I hope.
Yeah.
And I'll be back with Andrea on Sunday. So thanks for joining us, everybody. We'll speak to you soon. Take care. See you later, Z.
See you later, guys.